Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Miss. My name is Syamsul Aryana Wahab. My student ID number is 33210039 from 33.6A.01 class. Now I will present result of my answer for final project applied linguistic. Let's start. First, problem 1. In this problem, Mr. Thompson is a linguist studying the use of language in news reporting. He is particularly interested in how language can convey bias, shape public opinion, and influence the perception of new events. Mr. Thompson analyzes articles from various news outlets covering the same events to identify linguistic patterns that may indicate bias. He also considers the impact of these linguistic choices on the audience, understanding, and interpreting of the news. And the question, what linguistic features should Mr. Thompson focus on identify bias in news reporting? This is my answer. Mr. Thompson, in his study of bias in news reporting, should focus on several key linguistic features that can significantly influence how information is perceived and interpreted by the audience. First, lexical choice and framing. The selection of specific words and phrases, lexical choice to describe events or individuals can subtly frame the narrative in a biased manner. For example, using words with positive connotation to describe one group, for example, freedom and fighters, and negative ones for another, for example, terrorists, can influence readers' perception of this group involved. Framing can also manifest in how events are portrayed. Describing a protest as a riot versus a demonstration can evoke different emotional responses from readers. And the second, tone and modality. The tone of language used in news articles can convey bias through its emotional coloring. For instance, a sensationalist tone with exaggerated language might heighten the perceived severity or importance of an event, potentially inflating its significance beyond objective measures. Modality, which refers to expression of possibility, certainty, or obligation. For example, likely, must, could, can also subtly shape how readers perceive the credibility or certainty of reported information. And the third, attribution and source making. How journalists attribute statement and action to sources can introduce bias. For example, selectively quoting certain individuals or groups while omitting others can skew the representation of diverse viewpoints. These features contribute to biased reporting by guiding readers' interpretation of events, individuals, and issues based on the linguistic cues provided. Bias in news reporting can therefore emerge not only from overtly opinionated statements but also from more subtle linguistic choices that shape the overall narrative and framing of news stories. By systematically analyzing these linguistic features across various news outlets and comparing their coverage of the same events, Mr. Thompson can uncover patterns that reveal underlying biases and their potential impact on public perception and understanding of news events. And next to problem 2. Imagine you are a language planner working for the government of a country with a diverse linguistic landscape. The country has several indigenous languages spoken by different ethnic groups, as well as dominant national language used for official purposes. Your task is to develop a language policy that promotes linguistic diversity while ensuring effective communities and national unity. And the question: how can the government promote the use and preservation of indigenous language through education? And my answer is promoting the use and preservation of indigenous language through education requires a thoughtful and comprehensive language policy. Here are several strategies that the government can consider. First, inclusion in curriculum. Incorporate indigenous indigenous language into the formal education system at all levels, from primary to tertiary education. This can include offering indigenous language classes as part of the regular curriculum or as elective courses. By integrating this language into the education system, the government can elevate their status and encourage their use among younger generation. Next, teacher training and resources provided training and resource for their provision in indigenous language. This includes developing teaching material, textbooks, and educational resources in this language. Additionally, training programs should focus on effective pedagogical methods for teaching indigenous language as both first and second language. Next, bilingual and multilingual education. Implement bilingual or multilingual education programs where indigenous languages are used alongside the national languages as mediums of instruction. This approach not only promotes linguistic diversity but also supports cognitive development and academic achievement among students who are fluent in their heritage language. The next, cultural integration. Integrate cultural component associated with indigenous language into the curriculum. This can include teaching traditional knowledge, customs, arts, and histories associated with different ethnic groups. Such integration helps students develop pride in their cultural heritage and foster a deeper understanding and appreciation of indigenous language. And last, promotion and awareness campaigns. Launch public awareness campaign to highlight the importance of linguistic diversity and the benefits of learning indigenous language. This campaign can target both students and the broader public, emphasizing the cultural richness and social value associated with indigenous linguistic heritage. By implementing these strategies, I mean, the government can create an educational environment that not only supports linguistic diversity but also contributes to national unity by fostering respect for all languages and cultures within the country. This approach not only preserves indigenous language but also promotes social cohesion and inclusivity across different ethnic groups. Okay, I think that's enough from me. Thanks for your listening. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.